Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to take a few minutes and respond by way, once again, of Kevin Murdaugh, calls himself an anti-dog trainer. And he put out a video here as to questioning why did I take down my last two video responses. And again, I talk about, again, why the dog training world is in the state that it's in. It's an absolute train wreck. But wanting to kind of clear the air here for anyone who's looking at, again, social media, how I respond to some of these dog trainers. And again, I'm going to line this up with why again, I talk about Murdaugh within the framework of a trainer like Christopher Upton. Okay, I'm going to show a video here in a second, but just so people understand where I'm coming from here, why I might take down a couple of videos. I will sometimes just totally step away from the social media, dog training scene for a period of time. At the same time, kind of checking my own motives, okay, for, when these trainers get personal and I'm kind of edging towards responding certain way. Understanding that these trainers, when they put up, they don't care about any of that, okay? So when I talk about certain things and what I'm doing, understand that they're looking at things through just putting the stuff out, pushing ahead. They don't care a lot of times what they say. They get personal. They want to get personal. Cheap shots, personal attacks. It's the same. Understand, it's the same old thing been going on for years. Okay, and understand the dog training world at the same time is absolutely coming apart at the seams. Okay, if you just do your own, take your time, go on social media, you look at all these trainers, virtue signaling all over the place, trying to elevate themselves in social media, looking for views and likes, pretending to have the answers. I'll talk about this here briefly. And meanwhile, just look at it. Okay, so, but here's the thing. Okay, here's Murdaugh put up this video saying, why did Dale McCluskey take down these two video responses to my last video? Well, the reason again is for me. Okay, when I'm putting out, again, focusing on information. Okay, that's my goal, is to put out specific information. And again, it's right front and center. It's the top of my Facebook page, talking about the criteria. Okay, what's the criteria that all these trainers are using, but by way of how they're jumping into a relationship problem between dogs and owners? What's the criteria they're using to discern, to establish that the perception of dogs are actually changing the right way, which again aligns with diminishment of unwanted behavioral issues based on perception of dogs changing at the social level. Okay, I talk about that connection. Here you see Murdaugh going on to sing about, social. It goes deeper than that. Okay, yes, it is social. Okay, but you actually have to connect the dots properly. I talk about the core ingredients, influence and control, how they're reconciled. Okay, so even you go back to all the videos, okay, and this is where this whole thing about getting personal, that again, the back and forth between me and Murdaugh, you'll see the breakdown point, okay, when it happened, okay, getting into the whole thing with the leash. And so even when, again, one of the videos he talks about, oh, I never, said what Dale's doing is abusive. Well, that's baloney. Okay, you go and you look at his comments on many of his videos where he's going back and forth to his followers. Okay, that's how he frames it up. Okay, about abuse. Okay, and how I interact with dogs. So it's all about trying to, just go back and forth and play all the angles. Because here's the thing. Okay, I talk about, and I understand this isn't unique. Okay, you go look at the Jeff Gelman situation with the controversy over the bonker, the rolled up towel. And, in terms of just the amount of balanced dog trainers that piled onto that situation along with Force Free, that should tell you something. Okay, what is abuse? I put out a video, go watch the video I did on the Gelman situation properly, okay, aligning that in terms of the dog, was startled. I talk about, making sense to the dog, the role of influence and control. It's a great illustration of the confusion, but the trigger point, okay, with reactions of dogs. And so I talk about the issue about being able to reconcile the reactions of dogs properly by way of the relationship. And this gets into the depth of the social aspect. And this is something that Murdaugh fails on, okay, just like a lot of other trainers. So this is where, again, you see this whole thing. That's why the whole thing, why do you think it broke down at a certain point between him and myself at that point? And so all these followers too that he's ginning up, playing into, well, it's the same thing. These are the same people that, disconnect from someone like myself when I get into actually talk because they telling people what they want to hear. He's just playing the surface here. He's playing appearances, just like a lot of other trainers. But the point here being, again, I want to talk about that so people understand where I'm coming from here. When I, say take down a couple of videos or take down videos, well, because when I engage with that, it's a type of situation where, I'm putting out information that goes totally against, what these trainers are marketing. Okay. And I'm not interested in these trainers because what they'll do, their go-to is to get personal. Okay. It's cheap shots, it's personal attacks. And that's the go-to. But going over here, okay, and so again, when I take down a couple of videos, because at a certain point, I'm just stopping, okay, I'm just like not because, and they'll try to take a victory and whatever to say, oh, Dale pulled down a couple of videos or he took down his videos, and they'll look at that as somehow affirming that they're right, okay, affirming that they got me somehow, they're taking a victory lap. But it's a fake and phony victory lap because it does nothing, absolutely nothing to address what the real issue is in the dog training world. They've done nothing to actually respond to what I'm saying. I'm taking down videos or stepping back because I'm just, taking a break. Okay, I understand. I take a break. And of course, I do step back in. I'll start to go along again. Because here's the thing is people will come to me, people I help and say, Dale, those videos are so helpful. I appreciate the information you put out. But here's the thing, when I put out information, I'm not aligned with balance training. I'm not aligned with this quasi Cesar Millan approach. I'm not aligned with force-free training. This is a interaction-based method. Okay, it's different that way. And so, these trainers, okay, they're all part of the system, so to speak. They're all that open door I talk about's there for dogs to continue to hold control. And I show it. Okay, you go look at the Murdaugh videos. Okay, there's moments that's why I put those out there. And that's it. Okay. And so for me, once this whole thing, so someone like Murdaugh or Upton, okay, we'll talk about this, they're just not happy. Okay. And so they just, this unhappiness, okay, with me putting out information. Because here's the thing, if what you're doing is great and you're satisfied with it, you're content with it, you know what I say shouldn't bother you at all. Move on. Okay. Move on. This whole thing about debate, and I talk about why you even want to debate. The thing is, I don't want to engage with certain people because just like the Upton situation where I'll show this, he just demanded, right, that I debate with him. He was calling on FaceTime. I was just like, I'm not interested because it's a cheap shot. Once a cheap shot's on the person, because it's like, what's the point? These trainers think that they're in control, right? They're in the middle of a mess. Okay, understand this is like a mess. And so I'm not interested. They can just continue on and if that's their choice, right, to market what they're marketing, that's their decision. And people that follow them doing it of their own kind of free will, go ahead. But I'm putting out saying, here's the problem. Here's why all these things are happening in the dog training world. These trainers, they're marketing a product. Okay, it's the defective product. I show it. I line it up. There's nothing hidden here. Anyone can put everything I say to the test. Okay, even this thing about, I talk about the quasi-Cesar Millan way. One of the things here with getting a dog to wait, even at the food, I mean, if you really audit that, okay, and line it up, what I'm saying, you'll see the problems there. Okay, why does it many dogs just continue that you're not fixing anything? Okay, so I talk about reconciling those core ingredients the way I do through specific interactions that change the perceptions. Okay, it's intentional. Okay, it's got to align. It's got to reconcile. Okay, and it doesn't happen through his method. Okay, understand that's the point. So we can go on all day long. Okay, but people have no clue the amount of critical thinking and time, okay, that represents this system of training. Years ago, asking the questions these trainers never asked. Okay, they're not even out of the starting gate, and that's not meant to be an ego statement. Okay, because I put out the information, it's there. Anyone that wants to, research and wants to put everything I say to the test, I welcome it. Okay, so, but here's the thing. So again, you talk about, the cheap shots, and the reason I just, will take down stuff and move forward. It's not based on they try to twist that or package that up. And people buy into it. Oh, it's a victory for them. Well, it's just me saying, you know what? I'm just like, I'm not interested in this personal back and forth cheap shot stuff. And so this is the same reason I wouldn't sit down with Upton or Murdaugh, because I have no respect for how they're going about things that way. Okay, I put out the information, not happy about it. Well, like I said, move on. If you're confident what you do, just move on. You don't have to respond to anything I'm saying. That's it. But here's the thing, going over here to the Upton, that's why I say about the Upton video, and these videos are still up. Okay, he's passed away, so the original video I had up on his whole situation, I had removed it. It was like the same controversy, thousands and thousands of online petition trying to have Upton canceled over how he interacted with the dog. That was a firestorm. There was a documentary that was done on that over there by Fields Stream and Sports. That's how I respond. I added to that, and it wasn't the same thing. I didn't label Upton as abusive. I went in and connected some dots to say, here's the issue here. Okay, here's why. The same as I did, very similar to the Jeff Gelman bonker video. Okay, it's very similar. But here's a video here of. I want you to look at this because when I watch the video content that Murdaugh puts up at this point, this is the same stuff. Okay, it's the same garbage, personal attacks, cheap shots, taking everything out of context, right? Why did the dog come back to Dale for additional training? Well, you know what? That's a good thing. Okay, people contact me, with service dogs, right? The dogs I'm helping with, typically these dogs have already gained a high level of control initially. So a lot of these owners have had the dogs for a year longer. These dogs are gained a high level of control in relationship. So, when things kind of edge back a little bit, I'm there. I walk alongside these people for the lifetime of the dog. So that situation alone, things like that, yeah, they get under my skin because it's like saying, well, that's a good thing that a trainer is coming alongside. That has nothing to do with there's something wrong with the method, okay? Because it's the human element, okay? Dogs are social animals. So if you just let things slide and you don't maintain a certain level, especially with dogs that have had a past that way, yeah, things are going to edge back. But I'm there to assist, and I show it. I say very transparent. Here's the situation, and so that's a good thing. But see, these trainers try to take something and try to exploit it to say, oh, well, that just shows you that. See, things like that. That's a constant theme with trainers like this because it's never about actually looking at. So it's all about just trying to distract and get personal to prove some point. But it's one of these situations where it's the same thing as the Upton situation. So I'll play some of this. This is the Upton video of him, and again, just the mocking and scoffing. And so the Upton situation, same thing. Christopher Upton got very upset. I did that one video as part of my Flipping the Script series and moved on. But then it just like triggered this whole thing with he got upset. And so every second live stream, bring my name up, putting out videos, wanting to challenge me, wanting to this, and then it's the same thing with the cheap shots and personal attacks. And then it gets to a point where I have no interest in sitting there. Why would I want to talk to someone like that? I wouldn't sit down and even want to have a coffee with certain people or even talk about anything because clearly there's a problem. Okay, I mean it's just like there's a lack of any sort of baseline respect. Once these trainers get rolling. So here you had medieval times. We went into my Facebook account, my personal one, pictures of my family, throwing it up, me just mocking and scoffing. Had put up a video saying I was training my son as a trainer, which is totally false. I gave my son a little certificate, a little physical certificate for helping me do bite work. Okay, but just the lies, right? And putting videos up like that. And so this is the one here, okay, that Murdaugh went in, because he went into Upton's videos and he tried to use this, right, to say, oh, Dale didn't refuse to do a debate with Upton. Just superficial, right, just went in and assumed certain things. And so here, Upton saying, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to have a live debate with me tonight. I'll set up the link and you don't have, I never agreed to anything. It was just Upton being upset. And so he was just mocking and scoffing and going on. And so Murdaugh went in and again trying to use the situation, right, to exploit, to try to chalk up some points.
Hello? Oh, hello, Dale. You got my message?
I'm telephoning you from a cafe about 10 miles south of.
See, it's just the same garbage. So again, the reason I want to throw it up is so people understand what this is the same playbook. This is stuff been going on since the beginning. So again, when I take down videos or I don't engage or I have no interest or watching the stuff, because it's about, again, I put it specific, it doesn't address anything to do with the problem. Okay, this is, these trainers are upset. And people want to follow these guys, go for it. Okay. I mean, you'll be spinning your wheels. I mean, that's the point. But here's the thing: I don't market myself that way. People that find me, find me for the right reasons. People who are looking for answers, I'm available. I help dogs and owners. I continue to do that. Even when I take down videos, I don't stop training, and I don't throw up everything. People go on about, a lot of my stuff. When I have sessions, it's, I don't video it because I'm going to people's homes. And so a lot of the videos that you'll see on my YouTube channel are from board and trains. Okay, when I haven't had board and trains recently, so I haven't put a lot of content up. But again, but there's lots of content. Okay, on my YouTube channel, me interacting with dogs. I talk about everything through everything. But here's the point, and I make this point in my own journey. When years ago, okay, when again just coming from the police side of things into the public realm, I already knew it was a mess. Okay, I mean, and it's continued. But no one had to drag me towards the truth. Okay, no one had to, argue with me and debate me and drag me towards the truth. I wanted to know. Okay, I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I mean, there's a problem here. I want to know what it is. And so the motives to do that, to want that, is part of the individual. So it's an individual choice. Either you want to know or you don't. And like I said, there's nothing hidden here. So, but all these mockers and scoffers, understand guys like Murdaugh, they already made their choice. It's not like they just, paused or, they said, you know what, let the chips fall where they may. I'm going to figure this out. That's not happening. They're pushing this, they're marketing their approach, right? They're marketing. So, they're not going to take down their videos or offer refunds here. Okay, understand? They're just going to, that's what it is. It's like this whole defensive posture they're in. And so, and they're not going to answer the question because they can't. Okay, I put the question up. Murdaugh going all day long about answering the question. No, it can't be reconciled through his methodology. It's just, it's specific. Okay, I talk about the specific, method. Okay, it speaks the right language. Okay, that again reconciles those core ingredients. There's only one way. Okay, that happens. So, yes, influence and control are throughout, say, force-free, balanced, right? And I talk about all those dynamics. But in terms of a predictable, intentional outcome, that's, again, I talk about specific, the ability to truly discern, okay, get the right information, be dialed in, okay? This is what this system's about. So it's not just about propping up the system saying, here it is, because I'm just the messenger. I'm just putting it out there. So all to say that, people follow this guy. I want to just clear the air. Why take down videos, put up, I don't watch a lot of that guy, like the stuff he's putting out. He wants to cheap shot and go on. Listen, I have no interest in it because it doesn't answer anything. And it's no different than Upton. Go watch all those videos. A lot of those videos are still up there. And so have at it. People can go on all day long. These trainers, it's just the hypocrisy. They cheap shot and go back and forth and run each other down all day long. And then, I put forward videos about that are information specific and they lose their minds. Right, and then just go on and on. Want to debate, and well, there's not a debate for me. This is a complete system. This is an original source system. Is it challenging? Absolutely. Is it hard truth? Absolutely. And especially for trainers that have already, made that choice. That's them, not me. So I didn't do that. Understand what these trainers are going on. I didn't do what they've done. I asked the questions, and I was willing to say it is what it is. I'm going to follow the right path. It doesn't matter if it brings me in conflict with every other trainer out there. Here it is, but then line it up. Look at the dog training world. Okay, just line it up. It's a mess. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And these trainers that don't have the answers, things are falling apart. But for the sake of dogs and dog owners, if you really, really care, okay, it should be an easy choice. It should be an easy choice. But it's not for these for obvious reasons, right? It's about views, likes, status, ego, money. That's what it is. That's what it is.